You're thinking about refinancing your mortgage, and you're probably wondering, when does it make sense to refinance? I'll share with you some important things to consider before you refinance. The first is your break even point. The next is making sure that your refinance aligns with you and your family's long term financial goals. And I'll share another strategy that might make more sense than refinancing if you have a low interest rate. My name's Darren. I'm a licensed real estate agent and loan officer in California. My channel is dedicated to educating people just like you so you can build wealth through real estate. Before I share these important things to consider about refinancing, the most important thing to consider is, does a refinance align with your long-term financial goals? Now that I've said that, I'm just going to cover some mortgage basics so you can make the best use of this video. Mortgage basics. Why am I sharing these? I think it's really important you understand the terminology and the basics of mortgage to make the best decision. So I'm going to cover the basic mortgage words that you need to know. Principal, that's the original loan amount borrowed to purchase your home. Interest, that's the cost paid to the lender for borrowing the principal amount. Term, the length of time over which the loan is scheduled to be repaid. Most commonly 15 or 30 years. Closing costs, these are the fees and expenses you pay when you replace your existing mortgage with a new one, aka refinancing. And these fees typically include the lender's fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, other third-party charges, and it usually ranges from 2 to 5% of the loan amount. Now that you have these basic terms, let's dive into how you can figure out when a refinance makes sense. The first thing we're going to talk about is calculating the break-even point. And the break-even point is the time it takes for the savings from your lower monthly payments to equal the cost of refinancing. And you have to consider the average time a mortgage is on the books is 5.5 years. So most people are either refinancing within 5.5 years or maybe selling that home and going into a new one. And how to calculate the break-even point is pretty straightforward. First, you're going to need to know what the total cost of refinancing is. So figure out what your total closing costs are. The next, you need to calculate the monthly savings. So you will take your new estimated monthly payment and subtract that from your current monthly payment. From there, all you're going to do is divide your total cost to refinance, your closing costs, by your monthly savings. And this will tell you the total number of months it takes to recover your cost of refinance. Here's a really simple example. The total cost to refinance is $5,000. By refinancing, you're going to save $200 a month. And this gives you a break-even point of 25 months. In this scenario, it would take about 25 months to recover those closing costs from your monthly savings. The general rule of thumb people use is, if your break even is 3 years or less, it makes sense to refinance. And you might be wondering, why 3 years? Well, you would recover your costs in 3 years, and then you would have 2.5 years of monthly savings. And that leads me straight into my next point. Does a refinance align with your long-term financial goals? And here are 3 questions you can ask yourself to assess if a refinance does align with your goals. First is, how long do you plan on staying in your home? Second is, what would you do with those monthly savings? And third, do you need to pull out cash from your home for other life events? And so the first question of, how long are you planning on staying in your home? If you're planning on staying for 10, 20, 30 years, then obviously refinancing, saving money is going to make a ton of sense. Now, if you're someone that doesn't want to have debt and you want to pay off your home as soon as possible, another thing you can do when you refinance is actually you can shorten the term of your loan. So in that scenario, maybe you're taking years off of your mortgage and allowing yourself to pay less interest over the life of the loan. The next question of, what would you do with the monthly savings on a refinance, is an important one, because maybe you're going to use that savings to invest and you're going to fund your retirement. Or maybe if you're in a similar situation to me, you have young kids, you now have a monthly expense of childcare. So that savings is going to some other life event. Another common question to ask is, will you need a large sum of cash, maybe for home renovations, or maybe your kid's going to college? Maybe you want to start a business and you need to pull equity out of your home. And so these are just situations that are pretty common for people to refinance. So obviously, before you refinance, you want to think through all these potential different scenarios of how to use the equity in your home and what would you use your savings for. In my family specific scenario, the savings would either go towards increased childcare expenses or, after school activities, or it would be towards funding retirement. We personally wouldn't be using those savings towards discretionary spending. Now, if you want to chat about your specific scenario, feel free to email me. And now I'm actually going to share an alternative to refinancing that could save you, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest over the life of your loan. Many homeowners now have interest rates that are below 5%. And if you're one of them, congratulations, you're a big winner here. But if you're wanting to be out of debt as soon as possible and not have a mortgage, obviously refinancing probably doesn't make sense right now. But what you can do instead is make payments towards your principal. Now, if you're in the scenario that you have, a 4% interest rate, but you're still considering refinancing and you're not sure what the interest rates are, I actually send a weekly email that keeps you updated on current interest rates. There's a link in the description if you're interested. So for those of you that are interested in paying down your principal faster, I'm just going to reiterate why that's a good option for you. When you pay down your principal faster, your loan balance goes down faster. This ends up shortening the term of your loan and means that you're going to pay way less interest over the total life of your loan. And I'm going to share an example of this. Let's say you have a 30-year mortgage on a $500,000 loan at 3.5% interest. If you were to just pay $250 more towards the principal, you would pay off that 30-year loan in about 25 years and 3 months. This would save you about $55,000 of interest over the life of your loan. If you're interested in what this looks like for you, there's a link to the website that I used to do this calculation. Obviously, refinancing can be a powerful tool for helping you achieve your long-term goals, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So before you refinance, please look at the break-even point, think about your long-term goals, and run your numbers to make sure that this decision is going to help you in the short term and the long term. And keep in mind, if you already have a low interest rate, something better than what you can get today, it might make more sense to just keep that rate instead of refinance. If you're not sure if a refinance makes sense for you and you want to chat about it, my email's right here and it's in the description below. As always, thanks for watching my videos, and I hope these videos are helping you build wealth.